So as Taylor finishes his Bruichladdich, I already finished mine. To tell you a little bit about the next bottle. So this one, following along the same theme from the Bruichladdich that we just tried, this one is another Blackadder Raw Cask. This one's different in many ways, but it's quite interesting. So this one came from Elixir as well, came from Tarek. So shout out again to Elixir for their incredible selection of various whiskeys. So this Blackadder is also a raw cask. This one is from Bunnahabhain Distillery. Now, what's very interesting about Bunna in this particular case is, number one, this is heavily peated. That's a bit uncharacteristic for something from Bunna. Not unheard of, but uncharacteristic for what you would typically find on the shelf, so that's exciting. And number two is the cask strength element to it. It's 61% ABV, so this one should be a pretty hearty pour. Not to mention, again, it is a raw cask whiskey, so this is out of a single barrel. Looking at it in the light, you see kind of the same look. I mean, it's got the same visual aspect as the Bruichladdich does in terms of it's very oily, it's very thick, it's dark, and it's got...
Which is kind of impressive. Sorry to cut you off.
You know, it is. Yeah. Oh, you're exactly right, because we were talking about the age. This is only a 7-year-old bottle. In fact, it's technically younger than 7. It was, I believe, barreled on 1st of October 2014, based on what I think the label is saying there. And it was bottled in May of 2021, so it didn't even make it a full 7 years. And yet it's so dark and richly colored. And again, it's got tons of charcoal bits and wood bits floating around in it. It doesn't quite hold position quite like the Bruichladdich did. So I feel like it's probably not quite as oily.
This one has a lot more of the fine sediment in it.
It does.
Which may contribute to the darkness.
It might, exactly.
So
I thought the same
more
thing.
Obscuring going on.
Yeah.
Because like I think the Bruichladdich has a lot of larger chunks in it.
Yeah.
And this one's not, absent of larger chunks. I don't think that any of them are quite as large. I know that one's got a small wooden ship on the inside of it. But this one is, there's a lot of very, very fine particulates just floating around in this, which, I'm kind of excited to see how that transfers over.
I'm so excited about it.
Mouthfeel.
The mouthfeel. Terroir, mouthfeel, smooth. Those are the buzzwords of the day. All right. So, are you still working on yours, or do you think you're ready for us to make a pour of this one?
You go ahead and finish pouring yourself one, and by then I will be finished with mine.
Excellent. Hey, don't abuse that whiskey. That is a very cherished pour there.
Very good. We'll see how long it lasts. It's a pretty tasty bottle. So I'm gonna have to. Oh, there you go. I'm gonna have to consciously make decisions to not drink from it. So I'm gonna keep it. Hopefully, with a new house coming into the mix. There'll be the opportunity to separate and design something that differentiates some of the, top shelf, if you will.
Yeah, fair enough.
I hate the designations for top shelf and all that, because I think it's just stuff you spent more on and stuff that's more daily drinkers. Because they're honestly like my biggest daily drinker for the longest time. I don't think I have a bottle right now because I haven't gotten one. I meant to grab one earlier today. Was honestly my Ardbeg Ugdal.
Yeah.
Because, it's just so good. It just works with every part. Like I told you one time, and I think I even said it in one of our previous episodes. Like I have like a physical yes. When I drank Ardbeg for the first time after not having it for a week or two, the flavor just it hits me right in the good spot.
No, I'm right there with you. When I return to Ardbeg or a peated Bruichladdich after a while, just something about it's like that put hair on your chest feeling. It's just it hits the right spot.
It's not working.
No,
not working at all.
Oh man, but I'm right there with you, and those places, those bottles deserve a special place on the shelf if you could make it happen. Well, I have poured my glass of this Bunna, and let me tell you, the nose This is. I don't think I can place a whiskey that I've had that's quite like this on the nose.
Yeah, not even the one we just tried.
Not even the one we
Not
just
even
drank,
okay.
because it's heavily peated. So wait till
Okay.
you get this. It's noticeably different.
As a man who owns, whoa. Is it, I can
You
smell
just
it
you
right
just
now.
got it, yeah.
It hit a little bit on the inside of that glass.
So
And
so
wafted
for the
up.
listeners, not the viewers, he poured a glass, and I mean we're talking a glass at
Foot and a half.
knee level.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
I mean, and it's hit him. I mean
Yeah.
this one's powerful.
Oh yeah, that one is so smoky. Like,
Yeah.
Like I hate to invoke their name, so I don't want to say early, considering we're like an hour and 15 in or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the Octomore stuff, like
Yeah.
super heavily peated stuff. Like I remember the first time we had 6.1, right?
That was our first
Yeah,
Octomore.
first one, beautiful, sleek black bottle. But like, we're talking with that bottle, you can drink it, brush your teeth, go to bed, wake up the next morning, and still smell like it.
That's exactly right.
And this has a lot of that
That characteristic,
immediate
right? Yeah.
characteristic because it's so like heavily peated. It's a fantastic description for that because, like, yeah, I'm getting a lot. Just the gentle swoop down and like
Yeah.
it wafted itself through pure aerodynamics up to my face, and like that's
It just, I mean, it opens up hard, and I
I'm-
think
I'm a big campfire guy. Like
I am
like,
too.
Not,
Yeah.
like, not even just in my whiskey. Like,
no,
I like
just campfire.
campfires.
Like,
Just
well,
boil.
I'm the same way. Cooking, right? I'm a cook over the open fire, roast meat, savory and smoky. That's my thing across the board. That's why I like robust cigars. You're the same way.
Yeah.
We like strong whiskeys. We like smoke and fire and all that. Like it all works the same way. And I think part of what makes this one stand out, in my opinion, is the integration of the wood chips and the floating particles. Is you've actually got charcoal, right? Actually smoked elements in there,
Yeah.
solids beyond just the whiskey itself. So,
You've got the suspect. He's
You
right
do.
He's
You
in
do.
the bottom of your cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah, no, and like I'm looking down in my glass right now, and the charcoal bits have settled into a little
Already
spot on the bottom. I can
in the
see
beautiful Glencairn. See, I've got a fair bit still sitting in stasis.
Yeah, I mean,
just like down,
it. Even though it's settled, I'm with you. I've got several bits floating.
trying to like hold it steady enough to not see it shaking, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, this one, honestly, this may give us more flavor than the Bruichladdich because of the smaller bits. There's just
Yeah.
more of it floating around. I
It's
think
more
we're going to
consistent, yeah.
get more of it on the palate. But that nosing, it's just so peat forward. It's so smoky. But it's not very, in my opinion, it's not very briny. It's smoky and
I agree.
salty, but I'm
I
not
agree.
getting a ton of that seaweed vibe off of it.
Well, like there is so like there's the other side to the brininess that I think Ardbeg Ugdal does really
Mm-hmm.
well, and it wasn't black. It might have been Grooves, is maybe the one I'm thinking of. There was a little bit more like wine ish sort of forward. It's not even it's less of like seaweed, and it's actually more salt in the area of like cured meats.
Yeah, I would
Because
agree.
the savoriness like comes through, and yeah, at the Ardbeg event we went to earlier today,
Yeah.
they had several of these very specific like nosing profiles
Yeah.
that they were trying to isolate, and like this is right down that like salty, savory, like we're talking like just pulled like a fresh,
Yeah.
like nice, grass fed piece of steak out, and I've thrown salt on it, poked it a couple times, make sure that seasoning is really getting into the meat, and like that's what I'm getting.
I agree. I think you definitely get that. I think the medicinal element comes through for me. I know that one stood out today, and so I'm picking that up as well. And yeah, I'm just that smokiness out of it. It's just so smoke forward. I think it's wonderful.
Would the producer like a sniff? She can't say I'll get her off camera at least. Well, we got her hand.
That's okay. We'll will allow it. She says it smells good, so that's a win.
Not sure how good the mics are doing on that one, but fantastic.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Solange? Wow.
I like that.
Going back to the fresh crack neck pour element from the heat.
Yeah.
That is very alcohol forward.
See, I actually have a contrasting experience right now.
Really?
I felt like that was very smooth. I feel like the alcohol, and I'm not sure if it's just the way that it introduced itself to my palate, but like I did not get as much of the pepper bite. That pepper bite being what I normally associate like the alcohol burn off to be. Mm-hmm. I didn't get quite as much of that as I was expecting for a 61. Yep. So, which isn't to say that it wasn't there. My senses might also be dulled. You know, we've had quite a bit of whiskey and other Guinness and all that earlier today.
Yeah, that is true.
So,
I think that it finishes very well. I think for me, the bite is if not more from the youth of the whiskey than from the actual strength of it. I do think that the hearty characteristics of what makes up the whiskey, I think, balances out well with the alcohol content, the heat of it, because it's so strong in those other areas. I don't think one really overrides the other, but I can also tell it's youthful. It's not an old.
It's not quite refined whiskey in the way that a lot of like those older.
Yeah.
Like I mean, we
were talking about we just tried that Bruichladdich, so that's 26-year-old. It had that element of depth and a mellowness where you could almost tell from having tasted so many over the years that it had mellowed out and sat for a while.
A little bit.
This one feels, I don't know, more sprightly almost. It's more active. It's not quite as.
Aggressive.
Like it's not.
Oh, yeah. Or
the cask isn't so forward into it. You get more of that raw spirit character out of it. In my opinion, that's kind of what I'm getting. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with what you got coming out there. It's sort of like the contrast between like Wee Beastie and the 10-year-old over in Ardbeg. Like Wee Beastie, which is kind of the allure of that 5-year-old spirit is that a lot of it is it's intended to be kind of aggressive. I don't think it's really bottled any higher of a proof than the 10 is. Like they couldn't be any more than 2 or 3% if I had to guess. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but like you look at that stuff and it's like, all right, I mean, it's good, but like. There's this sort of youthful vigor to the way that it comes across.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the point is you get introduced to what Ardbeg is as a distillate and not just what it is as something from a cask down the road. You're more acquainted with what makes Ardbeg what it is on the front end. And it's been a very popular exercise, by the way. I mean, Wee Beastie has sold very, very well. It's very popular. Because not everybody likes that the cask finishing and the aging of a Scottish, especially an Islay whiskey, because it does have that very defined character. That's just not for everyone's palate, especially the unseasoned.
On that exact topic, so the gentleman that helped us with the tasting earlier, and I won't call him by name or tell anybody on here who he works for. But there was one of the gentlemen doing the tasting today pulled me over. We'd been talking to them for a while. He pulled me over for a second after he'd talked with a couple of the people, and we'd sort of wandered around the store. And he pulls me over and he goes, "Hey, I know that you'll absolutely enjoy this." He tells me this story of somebody who, right after we walked away, an older man came up and looked at the bottle and said, "Oh, no. 5 years old? No, it's far too young. I don't drink whiskey that young." And the taster guy was like, I mean, it could be good, man. Like, I think you should just try it.
Yeah.
Like, you never know. You might like it. He was like, "Okay, fine." And so he poured him his little shot glass.
Yeah.
And he gets it all up to his nose, gives it a quick little sniff, and says, no, it won't pass my lips. And then put it back on the table and walked off.
Really?
Didn't try anything else. And he was like, I had to tell somebody. And you being somebody who's like drank a fair amount of whiskey and knows what you're talking about, he goes, I know that you'll appreciate that story. And it's like, yeah. Because like you think about like all the brands nowadays that are moving away from worrying about, about worrying about age statement.
Yeah, age statement's going away in a lot of cases. Yeah.
Like, I mean, there are some places that still, I don't know if it's because they've got their process dialed in, or they think they've got their process dialed in. But I know Bruichladdich did that. There was talk a couple years ago about how they weren't making anything that had an age statement because they were going towards something where it was like, no, when the spirit's ready, the spirit's ready.
Yeah, that was the idea.
And sometimes, just because of the way that those biological aspects like interact both in the still and then in the cask, like you look at it and. Sometimes it'll take 6 years. Sometimes it'll take 8 years. And you may get the exact same flavor profile out of both of those just because of how the dice roll goes.
Yeah.
And so, like that kind of made me think about with this guy. Theo, can you stop? Jesus. It kind of made me think with this guy. Like there are so many people that I think I've met in my whiskey escapades so far that sort of follow that same sentiment where they're like, no, like, oh, I won't. No, 12 years old is the standard for single malts because you think about like, oh yeah, well, what are all the brands that do that 12 that like okay, cool, it's like 12 is where the single malt world thinks that perfection at its base form is achieved. Like you've got Glenfiddich, you've got Macallan, you've got Glendronach. I think Glenmorangie's got a 12-year-old. Like there are a ton of them, but Bowmore's got a 12-year-old. So much of the single malt world has this sort of almost fixation on the 12-year-old thing, which if you know where that came from, I would like to know. I can't say I've honestly ever looked that up as to why that number has kind of been settled on, but I would be curious. But I think with a lot of more young and novel understandings and experiences within the whiskey community, those people are coming up and rising to be master distillers and distillery managers and stuff like that, and they've got a slightly different approach to it, and I think that's evolving the single malt world, especially over the last several years. Yeah, but bourbon I don't think gets quite as much of the hassle on the year thing. Yeah, they throw the occasional one where they gawk about it being a 4, 6, 8, 10, whatever. But I don't see near as much fixation in the American production market maybe. Which, I mean, you're a little bit more in tune with the bourbon side of things than I am. So, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right. And in fact, I would say that I think that the Scotch world has taken to heart some of what the American whiskey, the bourbon whiskey world has been doing. And that's understanding that age statement does not mean everything. So, you mentioned the 12-year mark and kind of where that came from in Scotland. So what it really comes down to is not so much that 12 is just a golden number, but in your different environments, so physical environments where weather and natural resources and everything interact, Scotland, the golden time for a whiskey to age is in that 12 to 14-year mark. That's where all of the elements of nature and the environment combine to age the whiskey to what they would consider to be the perfect finish or the marketable finish, you might say. Whereas in America, in Kentucky and Tennessee and such, they experience a wider range of seasons than what you get in Scotland. So their timeline is shortened. They have more extreme heat. They often have more extreme cold. They have rain like Scotland experiences, but they also have many dry periods. So their range of weather patterns is much broader, and that impacts how whiskey ages, and it shortens that timeline. You'll very rarely see a 10, 12, 15-year-old bourbon. You will see it, but relative to Scotch, it's far more rare. But you also see many more no age statement bourbons than you'll see Scotch. And I think a lot of that is because the bourbon, the American whiskey approach has been exactly what you said Scotch is starting to do, or Bruichladdich did specifically, was the whiskey's ready when it's ready.
Yeah.
A lot of it's blended, to be fair. In the bourbon world, they don't have an equivalent single malt. They may have a single barrel, but like
there are single malt American.
There are single malt American whiskeys, but from a bourbon standpoint, they're not going to have any single malt.
Correct.
But they do have some single barrels and stuff. But a lot of their things too are not single barrel. In fact, single barrel bourbons are a relatively new thing too. Relatively, they've been around, but a lot of the bourbons, you think about some of the biggest ones, Buffalo Trace, Blanton's, all those things. A lot of those big brand names have legacies in blends, blending barrels, things like that, and especially not factoring in an age statement. The age statement was not a consideration to get what they needed in a lot of times. So now you turn that back to the Scotch side. I think a lot of these distilleries are starting to realize, especially some of the more bespoke distilleries, that clients can get bored with the same repetitive product. Now, a repetitive product is a very good thing to have because consistency is key with a lot of buyers. They want one consistent, good whiskey. That's why Jack Daniel's has been so good for so long. They have created a good, solid, consistent product for decades. And that's what their buyers want. But if you'll notice, Jack Daniel's recently has started introducing a lot of special releases.
Yeah,
they used to not do that.
Yeah, BIB, all that stuff.
Exactly. They've got their heritage barrels, they've got their barrel proof rye, they've got their hazmat barrel proof they came out with a couple years ago. Jack Daniel's has started getting into the game of creating these special whiskeys. And why? It's because the market's there for it. People want different things. They want experimentation. They want flavor. And so these Scotch distilleries, harken back to Jim McEwen, they have been doing that same thing. They've been creating these unique experimentations, these bottlings that take into account different characters, different flavor profiles to try to market to a new crowd. Sometimes I think it's a marketing strategy just for research purposes to see what people like or not. Does this type of bottle sell well or does it not? If it doesn't, it's a 1-year only thing versus a 10-year plan to develop a new consistent formula. And versus they may create one that sells like crazy. And so now they've got some good data to say, hey, maybe we need to invest in this as a recurring thing down the road. I mean, there's just so much available market research out there. And it doesn't take that much. It's not an easy thing, but it doesn't take that much to create a 1-year only new whiskey with a little bit of experimentation. And then you can create, again, a whole new product or a whole new client base that you may not have had before because you branched out. And so, like I said with Jim, Bruichladdich was one of those first distilleries that really started putting out special releases and experimental bottles. Yeah. So as soon as he got started there and they rebirthed themselves, Bruichladdich was putting out a ridiculous number of bottles a year. I mean, I think in the span that Jim was there, they may have averaged easily more than 20 unique bottles a year, easily, from an average standpoint. I mean, even today, they still have the Laddie, forgive me if I pronounce it wrong, but the Valenche or whatever that is, where it's like once a month they have a unique cask that gets bottled and that you can go to the distillery store and buy on top of their special releases, their Friends of Bruichladdich releases, all those things that they do. And I don't know if I could qualify them as being the starter of that, but that has been an immensely popular campaign. And what it has allowed is for Bruichladdich to essentially relax their quality control to an extent. And they can now open up a barrel, and even if it's not the best barrel they've ever had, they can assign a unique name to it, market it, sell it, and there you go. Now you've got people who are going to buy it up because it's a different take on the whiskey.
Yeah.
And so I personally see the value in moving away from the age statements because now you're introducing this new element of differentiation where you get away from the consistency aspect of it and you're focused more on the quality and the flavor and what the master distiller can come up with. And so for me as a consumer, I like that. I think that that's very valuable, and I want something different. You know, that's why I have so many bottles on my shelf. It's not because I want 100 bottles of the exact same whiskey. I want to try a bunch of different things for a bunch of different moods or days or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's my take on the variations.
Well, I've got nothing to say negative about your take. I think well put in a total variety of ways, because I think you encapsulate that very well, and obviously your adoration and knowledge of Bruichladdich like shines through. So you are. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge fan of all of their stuff, but. At the end of the day, yeah, you're the guy there. That's the laddie right there.
I'm the laddie guy. Laddie here, shorty there. You're the Ardbeg guy.
Hey, there you go.
There you go.
I'm okay with it. But speaking of shorty, hey Theo. So earlier today, I'm going to absolutely veer us off almost.
Go for it.
Earlier today, we went to Masters of Smoke, right? Is what they,
yeah. So Ardbeg does a tour, and
bread's done.
They've done it. They did it last year, and they're doing
charged.
it.
That's just how it goes. That's just how it goes, folks. She's good. She didn't eat it. That's what matters, right?
What a sequence.
You okay, sweetheart? All right, good.
All right, refresh. All right, so going back.
Yeah. So
Ardbeg does a tour that they've now done the last couple of years. I think they took a break from doing it for a while.
They normally don't do the same tour twice, though.
Exactly.
Which is impressive.
That's what they told us. They change the theme. So they have a tour where they tour the U.S. and share their whiskey and just history of Ardbeg with the country and these various stops.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. They went in and they redesigned and rewrapped the entire trailer and the truck they had. I think the previous time they did Master Smokes, they had this super dope Humvee.
Yeah, I think that's
Hummer
right.
Looking thing.
And we'll drop some pictures and videos in with this. We'll figure
see
out.
how good
we'll have
my editing
your video
skills
editing.
are.
We'll try to drop that in
right here.
over my face.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe in front of his face. Who knows? I guess we'll see what I can do. And I don't know, QuickTime or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had a great setup this year. We didn't catch the name of the young lady who helped us at the actual trailer,
we did, yeah.
but I know we talked to Jacob. And I'm blanking hard. I mean, it's 11 o'clock at night, so I don't expect myself to remember his name. But there was another gentleman there who ran the tasting booth.
He followed us on the Instagram page.
Yeah, he was fantastic. We will. We're not going to tag you below that. I think that's considered doxing, but we appreciate anybody who follows us. But we went in there. Yeah, we talked to those guys. They hooked us up with a bunch of fantastic.
Some sweet swag. We've got this book talking about the Masters of Smoke tour. I know you can't see it from that far away, but it's a handbook that just talks about the different offerings from Ardbeg, along with their specific notes that they're kind of known for, right? So talking about the medicinal and the savory. They've also got the smoke and coal and herbal. Yeah. Those different elements that are characteristic Ardbeg. That's how Ardbeg describes their spirits.
Yeah.
For those. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they had a great little thing with, I think it was basically essential oils in the little glass thing that protects the flower from Beauty and the Beast. It was that's the only place I'd ever seen that thing before. Yeah. So,
but they would open that up and let you smell that particular element.
And they had it so dialed in, it wasn't that you went over and you sniffed the actual oil. It was no, this stuff has been coating the inside of this glass dome for however long, and it's making it so that you could smell it clear as day. And it was a pretty satisfying olfactory experience, if I do say so myself.
Well, it's very accurate. Yeah. I mean, every single one of those scents I would tie directly back to Ardbeg.
Oh, Ardbeg. I love Ardbeg.
Isle of Scotch. I'll say that.
I'll say Ardbeg.
But Ardbeg.
Because it was Ardbeg doing it.
Exactly.
But yeah, we got a whole bunch of cool stuff. So we got that cool little book. There was a nice little, I call it a sniffer pad.
Yeah, it's like a pad with, I guess you can lift. We haven't tried it, but you lift the little cover and it lets you smell each whiskey.
Yeah, and this is part of their core range, to specify that. And who knows, there might be a quarter cask on that. I don't remember if we've done one on the
I don't think we've done
range
it on
already.
the core, yeah.
But core range for Ardbeg is going to be the Wee Beastie, which is the 5-year-old, the 10-year-old, which is, surprise, 10-year-old, Ugdal, which is, I believe it's like a 6 or 8-year-old minimum. They do a minimum on their age or not their age statements, their core range. There's Anoa, which in my opinion is not as savory and smoky as Ugdal, but apparently somebody at Ardbeg contrasts that opinion, and they put them about the same. I think they put Anoa, it's technically higher, and then the last one is Coreyvrecken, which is a little rarer to find down here in the southeast US. For some reason, it's a little bit of a higher price point, so that may be part of it.
Yeah, and Coreyvrecken's my favorite of the core range. I know your favorite's the Ugdal.
Yeah.
Which we say favorites. I think they're all fairly close. Like I could take Ugdal any day, and I would never complain about it.
If I was on death row,
Ugdal would be his.
Ugdal.
That would be his.
Yeah,
ass.
yeah. Oogie. You'll hear me call it Oogie on here.
Oogie, Corey. Yeah, so
Yeah,
on. You know.
10. You know, I mean the bottom three don't really have like shortened brevity names, but.
But 10 is that's their hallmark. So you know you want just something authentically Ardbeg and a solid introduction to what you're going to expect with their entire range. 10 is the starting point. 5 is another very good intro, but as we discussed, that's more of a raw spirit side of things.
Yeah, a little more aggressive.
Less of the aging, more of the just aggressive alcohol. Still exceptionally good. But just a different take on the spirit. I think that the 10 and the 5 really work well together to let you understand how the cask and how Isla influences how the spirit ages and matures.
Yeah, totally. And so to keep going on with the stuff that we got there. So, yeah, we got that sniffer pad, the book. You can probably see the candle in the center. None of the three of us, I don't think, thought it smelled particularly Ardbeggy.
But it smelled good.
But it's a good smelling candle. Bad, and we grabbed a handful. Their requirement was buy a bottle. And we satisfied that, so we made it go on. So if you ever go in and you see them local to you, definitely check them out.
Yeah, check them out. I mean, they're going to let you try their whiskeys. They're really cool to talk to. They'll educate you on Ardbeg, and they have a bunch of free stuff.
Yeah, and as long as the guy that knows like all the things isn't sick, you get to meet people who know a fair bit about it. But you can also meet some really cool people because they send out some high profile corporate folks to sort of accompany that. And I think the last thing that we got was a handful of Ardbeg pins. So
we got some Ardbeg pins. That's pretty cool.
Those to work.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we can wear those to work. I mean, that's gonna be awesome.
We could ask what the heck we're wearing, and then probably our colleagues will never talk to us again because we'll go down a rabbit hole.
That probably
lasts about an hour.
They're gonna think we're crazy. Yeah. Thank you for those who have stayed with us this long.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and put. Like markers in here for what we're talking about, so that people can click the stuff. So if they want to just hear us half drunkenly ramble about Ardbeg, they can skip to an hour and 30. If they want to hear us mostly sober but talking about gin still, it's like 20 minutes.
Exactly. And just to tell you, the folks at Ardbeg are so cool. They literally gave us a jacket off their back.
Oh yeah, I don't know where I put that. I think it's in my bedroom. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there were receipts in the pocket, so I don't think it was
literally off their back.
Yeah. So we'll see. Somebody probably went when they went to tear down everything and went, "Hey, where's my jacket?" But it's okay because it's at my house.
Yeah,
so
it's safe and it will be well appreciated.
Don't DM me. Yeah. Okay. So we've had a fantastic run of things.
No, it's been awesome. We've had some really good whiskey today. We got to go visit the Ardbeg tour and talk to folks who were there and share our appreciation with like-minded
Oh,
individuals,
it's
which is hard in the Southeast U.S.
Scotch is not a big thing. I mean, we're part of a couple whiskey groups, but I think a majority of guys and gals in the Southeast
It's bourbon.
they're bourbon folks.
And
I
if
mean,
it's not bourbon, if it is Scotch, it's your run-of-the-mill Scotch. It's not.
I wouldn't. Hey, let's not demean those folks. They're
Well,
more palatable scotches.
Run-of-the-mill, folks.
Even the Scotch community can agree that Islay Scotches and those that like it
They're not for everybody.
Are very niche. So
They are not for everybody, and so no. To be fair, we are in a niche of our own, which is especially difficult here in the southeastern U.S. So it's nice to find kindred spirits out there.
yeah, definitely. And we might be going out there.
No, we're
tomorrow
trying to go out there tomorrow, see them
tomorrow.
one more time, just visit, ask for a job, something.
Geez.
Hey,
Try me, man. Try me. If my boss sees this, no comment. But yeah, so we've talked about a lot of stuff today, Cage. Had quite a bit of alcohol. Never a bad way to get together. Is that my phone or my laptop? Okay, we had a coolant fan kick on a second ago. I didn't know where it was coming from. So, like, to go back to that, we've had a lot. We've talked about a lot. But at the end of the day, a lot of the folks that are coming here, if they haven't been paying attention to our channel, which is relatively fresh, obviously. I mean, I think we've got one video of me in a poorly lit office talking about how this channel is going to work. If they haven't been keeping up with our page, which they should, at brothers_in_whiskey without the E.
yeah, without the E.
Then they don't really know a ton about us, but like, I guess, we sort of sprinkled it all over the place. But like, what are the big things maybe happening right now? Both whiskey relevant or not, about you that you think people watching the channel should know about you.
Well,
on the spot, improvise.
Yeah.
Let's see how he does.
well,
He's a great public speaker, so he'll do fine.
I don't know about all that. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, we're just whiskey enthusiasts who like to share our enthusiasm, our passion, our appreciation with like-minded people or people who just want to learn more.
Yeah.
We're by no means leading experts in the field, but we enjoy learning. We have no issue being told that we're wrong about something if it means we can learn more about it.
Put it in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, by all means. So I think for us, it's an opportunity to share the spirits with each other, but also just, again, to share with you, to revisit it, and again, just overall share our appreciation for the art of what whiskey is, and tasting and distilling and all that's involved in that process. So for me, I like anything whiskey related, bourbon, Scotch, any of that's fair game. As we've discussed, I'm more of a Scotch guy myself, but I have an appreciation for all of it. My appreciation delves from the art of crafting it, the history of it, the fact that you can go back 300, 400, 500 years, well beyond that, to be fair, but in terms of modern recorded history, hundreds and hundreds of years of processes that we continue to utilize today to craft these spirits and the stories they involve. That's just what I love. The people who create it, the passion behind it, the people who work at these distilleries, they live for this stuff oftentimes. I mean, this is beyond a livelihood, but this is a lifestyle. And so for me, it's a pleasure and an honor to be able to partake in it, to enjoy it, to share that with them, with you. So that's kind of my approach to it.
Heck yeah, yeah. I'm pretty similar. I like sharing a good drink with folks. I think I've hosted a handful or two tastings just with like more novice folks, just like give them an opportunity, because as we all know, as you develop into a whiskey drinker, drinking whiskey out in public is expensive, and sometimes it can be worth it, because at the end of the day, trying like a $20 pour of a bottle to tell you that you shouldn't have bought the $130 bottle, that's a mistake well learned. I've got a handful of those back there.
Yep.
But I think especially having other folks who have different palates definitely helps you out, gets you figured out, and lets you kind of direct yourself whenever you're trying new things. Informs you in a variety of ways, and I feel like I've learned a lot about myself. Trying to reconnect with things that maybe happened, growing up, foods that I ate, things that I associate certain flavors with. Like, that's a big part of the whiskey experience, because everybody's going to have a slightly different take on every single pour. We're going to have vastly different interpretations of how even this spirit tastes. Boom, we could try it out of the same glass, and it would be a different experience.
And neither of us are wrong. That's the beautiful thing is everyone can have their own experience, and no one's ever wrong. It's your experience is uniquely your experience, and it's in our case 29, 30, 31, 32 years of life, that makes up what our interpretation is of these various whiskeys. And so that's another interesting element is it's not simply a drink. It can be, but in our case, it's not. No. It's truly capturing all of this history and experience into how you interpret, the spirit at the end of the day.
Well, and on a almost, it's totally connected note, but like in a different, you're talking about developing skills, like you become better at, discerning flavors. Mm-hmm. Being more introspective. I feel like, especially doing this podcast, whether it was video or not, I feel like I've become a slightly better speaker than I was.
Yeah,
There's a little bit of the speaking to an empty room sort of aspect of this that definitely yells practice. And you could definitely see our growth from even the first episode to where we are now. And, there's a little bit of a weird growth here because we're not used to sort of having to interact.
This is a first.
Yeah,
right?
To interact with something. Normally it's just the microphone in front of us. Has been since we started doing this adventure, this dialogue, in 7 years ago, technically.
Close
2018 is when we started Brothers in Whiskey, technically, and we started doing all that. All of this stuff, and really spending our stimulus checks on whiskey.
Cover like one bottle.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know. Right. So like there's a very unique experience going on with anybody who decides to delve in on this, and it's fun to interact with more folks about it because it gives you different ways to think about it. I know my wife always makes fun of me because I like to draw in on phrases like mouthfeel or white fleshed fruit, which is so. I think I do it almost more for the meme now. Because there's a level of presumptivity to white fleshed fruit. Especially if you say it pompously. But there are times where that's honestly and earnestly what like I'm like getting from what we're going for. Like graham cracker is something I get from a lot of like lighter, especially that's Irish whiskeys. I get like that graham cracker, like shortcake sort of flavoring, which is probably part of the allure for those. Very sippable, easy to drink. And so we've definitely both gotten our own little journeys, but I think especially being in this foray has allowed us to sort of maintain some parallelism.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it definitely has. Yeah.
All right. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. So we talked about me getting married. We talked about Ardbeg. We had 2 gins and 2 whiskeys, which were all fantastic pours.
Yep.
Definitely staples. And I will do my best to incorporate something about them either into this video in terms of graphics or into the description. And you guys keep me honest on that one. they should show up somewhere.
Yeah.
Let me see what else we talked about terroir and stuff being smooth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got to figure out how to do. I'm gonna go in and record some sound bites that I can lay over. Sound like I don't know.
Nice.
The Steely Dan's like peg recording, where it's like 1,200 voices layered over itself for those things. I don't know.
I think that's about it for a solid first go at the video format.
I agree. And we only got interrupted by the cats only
Like
a handful of times.
30, 40 times, so we're okay.
This is He-Man, by the way, and the smaller one is Theo. I have a third one, but she's camera shy, so we won't see her on an episode, maybe for a while. We'll see. But you got anything else, man?
Man, I think that's it.
All right. Well, this is us signing off. My name is Taylor.
And I'm Cage.
And this is the Cask Effect Podcast.
Yeah, thank you for joining.
Slàinte.
Slàinte.